Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Donald Sanderson. I'm the non-voting chair of this august committee. I would like to acknowledge before commencing this meeting that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people under the Robinson-Huron Treaty and of the Métis that traveled the waterways of our area. I'd like now to call our meeting to order. The first item of business is a mover and seconder for the approval of the minutes of October 28th. May I have a mover? Mayor McDermott, a seconder. Councillor Bachmann, thank you. Is there anything that you would like to add or remove from today's agenda? Or from the minute? I'm sorry, we're talking to the minutes at this point in time, sorry. Any questions, concerns, errors, or omissions in terms of the minutes? Ready for a question? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Thank you, that is carried. Item B, 1B is the declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest to declare today? Thank you very much. Hearing none, we will move to item number 2, which is deputations. Are there any deputations to be made? Good afternoon, Mayor. Not at all. We've got a place right here for you. And keep me on my toes. I don't have any deputations on this agenda. Is there anyone in the audience that will be making a deputation today? Hearing none, we will move to a verbal update on the steering committee. Mr. Harris, I believe you'll be making that report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The steering committee, the updates for the benefit of the committee and for the public in the audience and that may be listening in. With the preferred site selected by the Wellness Center and Pool Committee at the last meeting, our focus as a steering committee has been on getting the grant application in. As I'm sure you're well aware, the grant application deadline is November 12th. A lot of moving parts, a lot of information, a lot of parties to coordinate with, but it's moving along well. Each municipality has or will be approving a resolution that was a common resolution across all municipalities. The idea to show that we're all approving the same thing. A number of municipalities have approved it to date. The Archipelago has approved a resolution. Whitestone, Seguin, McKellar, Parry Sound. I understand that McDougall will be approving a resolution this evening, and Carling will have it on their agenda for next Tuesday. It's the first item on the agenda, so Kevin's committed to getting that resolution to us as quickly as possible so we can include it in the submission. The resolution, I'll just read it out so that everyone is aware of what's being approved by each municipality. And the municipality of X, whichever one it won, supports the town of Parry Sound as the lead for a joint application to the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Community, Culture and Recreation Funding Stream for a West Parry Sound Area Recreation Complex on behalf of the 7 West Parry Sound area municipalities and the First Nation communities of Wissahickon and Shawnigan. The proposed commitment and share of estimated capital and operating cost of the project for each municipality and First Nation community to be determined upon the completion of the report by CSMP Architects, which includes input from the Citizens Advisory Committee and the development of a facility governance model by the CAO Steering Committee. So that's be one resolution approved by everybody. So when we submit that, everybody's on the same page and the same understanding. So that's well underway. With the municipal support, the maximum amount of grant that can be received is 73.33% from the federal and provincial governments. I was advised this morning that the First Nations of Wissahickon and Shawnigan have passed resolutions similar to the one that I just read. That came in this morning. I haven't had time to circulate the document, but with that support, these resolutions increase the amount of potential grant funding up to 93.3%. So I think that's good news for the program and for the application. We also arranged for letters of support from the West Parry Sound Health Center, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for working with us to get that letter coming shortly. DSAB has also agreed to submit a letter of support for the project. The Regional Economic Development Officer has submitted a letter of support from an economic employee retention and attraction perspective, and the Chamber of Commerce has sent in a letter of support as well. If there's other letters that anybody thinks would be helpful to get, we'd be happy to see if we can get that done before the grant deadline. That's the update, Mr. Chairman, and open to any questions that members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for Mr. Harris? Councillor Gilbert.
Just with the application, will we see the application before the 12th, so that just as to see what it looks like or what's on it, kind of thing?
I'm going to say not likely, just given the constraints and the time constraints. We're hoping to have a draft. Staff in the Parry Sound Finance Department will be actually doing the entry into the application, but we're getting input from the CAO group, from the CSMP who are doing the due diligence. We're hoping to have the draft by Friday and even get a chance to review it ourselves on Monday. So I think it's just the practicality of it. I would say that likely won't be possible.
Any other questions? Hearing none. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Number 4 on the agenda, other business. There's 2 added items to discuss this afternoon. The first one is a letter received from the Georgian Bay Native Nonprofit Homes and Parry Sound Affordable Housing Development Corporation, and I believe that Mr. Wesley will be addressing us. Is that correct? Does everyone have a copy of that letter that was received, sent this morning? So this is relatively new. Some of our committee members haven't had an opportunity to review it, so they're just going to take a quick glance at that now, if that's acceptable. Mr. Wesley, would you be prepared to read the letter for the benefit of our people who are in the gallery and joining us on the live web? No problem.
And I need my glasses. All right. To dear committee members, our organizations are looking to meet West Parry Sound Recreational Complex application funding through the investment. Oh, thank you, Sky. Canada Infrastructure Program. We're looking for the West Parry Sound Area Recreation Complex to consider adding our organizations as joint applicants. We understand our request for land for affordable housing will be better directed to the town of Parry Sound. Having our organizations added as joint applicants will enable you to receive additional consideration under Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program as part of the assessment process due to the following considerations. Joint projects, particularly those that service multiple communities, focus on vulnerable populations and Indigenous people, alignment with provincial objectives, including housing, community employment benefits for at least 3 federal targeted groups. Under the new ICIP Community Cultures and Recreational Stream, we have the opportunity to work together to access the 93.33% financing. Approximately $407 million in federal funding and $320 million in provincial funding will be available for the CCR stream over the next 10 years. At least $30 million of the federal programming must be carved out for off-reserve Indigenous projects, and I highlighted where you could get that information. We look forward to working with the community and the committee to benefit our communities. On behalf of the Board of Directors of Georgian Bay Native Nonprofit Homes and Parry Sound Nonprofit Housing Development Corporation, signed by Guy Panapak, Project Manager, and Darren O'Brien, President.
Thank you, Mr. Wesley. Do committee members have any questions about the correspondence? Councillor Gilbert.
Is there a difference now then with the funding than what we've got coming from First Nation with Wissahickon and Shawnee?
When you look at actually getting approval through ICIP, you have to have partners that are willing to contribute financially. During our last conversation with you, we sort of we talked about how we could share infrastructure into a new community site for housing. We do believe even the new site that's being considered, there's property in the back that the town of Parry Sound, we're aware it has property. There's still a case that we could be a financial contributor. So not just a contributor in the sense of just an interest of having the property or the project to move forward, but actually a financially contributing to the thing. So
Sorry, would that be the same then as what the possibilities are from Wissahickon and Shawnee, or is that an extra that you're talking about?
it would be an extra. To me, it would be an extra. Plus, we are, and I would like, maybe Sky would like to talk about that, the difference between the organizations.
Yeah, so our benefit is that we are an urban organization. We are already in the community. We service the community. At Georgian Bay, we provide housing for off-reserve, as well as with our other nonprofits. We provide housing for people off-reserve. On top of that, our organizations work together to make sure that we're part of the community. As myself and Roland Cascanet are representing the organization with our First Peoples background. We share land together already on 2 different properties. So we show that we know how to work together. We create things together with the community in mind that is already within the envelope, as opposed to off-site on reserve, which funding streams are different.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from committee members? Councillor Bachmann.
Yes, in regards to having the assistance to provide better opportunities for funding, this is, I guess, more of a comment. Now, I do see here in the applicant eligibility, the top 3 eligibility applicants are municipalities, First Nations, and other Indigenous communities and organizations. So as an applicant, you would be referencing yourself under that stream as the other Indigenous communities, organizations, not your First Nations, correct?
Right.
Okay. And just to clarify, at this time, your ask is only specifically to support the application in regards to rather than providing land for housing within this new ask.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
An additional item of business under 4B will be, it is a request from Councillor Bachmann that we would reconsider Resolution 2019-006, the naming of the grant application for the purposes of the ICIP. And just a note that in order to do so would require 2/3 majority of this of voting members. So would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Chair. One of the things in reviewing in just the recent events that have occurred with the new letter that has come in, Through our Indigenous group and our housing in support of that application, I've taken an opportunity to review the current application that we are submitting under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. The stream that we're applying under is community, culture, and recreation. And when I look at the current name that was provided in the resolution, we talk about complex, and complex refers to a group of similar buildings or facilities on the same site, whereas the term center references a place of group where specified activity is concentrated. And I think when we look at this application, it specifically speaks to centers, community centers, it speaks to arenas adjoining recreation components. So I think that and this is only for purpose, my ask today is for consideration only for the purpose of the application, very similar to the decision that was made on the property. This is, one more box that we can check off on our application by considering the name West Prairie Sound Recreation and Cultural Center. And I think that with the recent support that these two organizations have just presented with us to it, it does specify in the application, and just to bring it up, that by including the Indigenous partners in the application, it opens up us to a broader stream of funding in consideration. It also shows to the community that our culture and heritage is important. As I noted in my questions to the previous delegation, that it does reference other Indigenous communities and organizations in the top 3 applicant eligibilities. And it says joint projects between multiple eligible applicants, particularly those that service multiple communities, are encouraged and will be given consideration as part of the assessment process. And it also notes that projects with an Indigenous focus will not be limited to funding from the $30 million federal carve-out of the off-reserve Indigenous projects, and Indigenous applicants will also be eligible for a funding under a broader stream. And so I'm proposing that we take into consideration that we include recreation and cultural center in the naming of this facility for the purpose of it, because I strongly feel that it gives us a better opportunity with submitting our application.
Thank you. So, Councillor, you're prepared to move that resolution?
Correct.
And then we would be looking for a seconder. Mayor Comrie, thank you. And the resolution will read, for the purpose of the ICP application, the project be named West Prairie Sound Recreation and Culture Center, and that resolution 2019-006 be revoked. So now I would open it up for questions and comments. Mayor Comrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The argument sounds cogent to me, but I wonder if we could hear from the steering committee if they have any additional comments on that change.
Mr. Harris?
Through the chair, the argument seems to, the rationale seems to make sense. The word, we've been sensitive to using words that fit the application. That's why we changed it from wellness. We didn't want to get healthcare confused with the program. Culture's in the application, that word, and I think center does make sense versus complex. And so I don't think, unless any of the other committee members have comments, I think we don't have an issue with it. It makes sense.
Any other comments, questions? You ready for the vote? Just a reminder that we were required 2/3 majority. That would be 5 out of 7 votes. So all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to move now into the closed session. We have a resolution dated November 6th by Councillor Joel Constable, seconded by Councillor Morley Hascom, that pursuant to Section 239 Section 2 and 3 of the Municipal Act S02001, Clause 25, as amended, the Wellness Center Pool Committee moves to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, applicants to Citizen Advisory Committee. Section C, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land for municipal or local board purpose. That would be the project site. And finally, under N, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board project. So, I believe I need a mover and we've got that. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you, and we'll move into closed. Thank you very much.